15th, 2019 meeting. Thank y'all for coming out to Town of Bailey monthly meeting. I'd like to welcome y'all here. First of all, got approval of minutes and financial statements from March and the regular minutes from last month.
I make a motion to accept the financial statements and the approval of the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, tonight on the agenda, first of all, we have Cecil Holly, President, Bailey Chamber of Commerce.
I'll go for it. I'm Cecil Hawley, President of the Bailey Chamber of Commerce. I have given each of the commissioners and the mayor a handout for the proposal which we have come up with, and I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes. But at the first, I'd like to welcome Urban Powell as a new commissioner to the town of Bailey. And maybe I want to thank all the commissioners and the mayor for all the unrewarding and underpaid things you guys do. At least we're finally on the right track for making this town a lot better. Now, what we'd like to do as the Chamber of Commerce is offer you guys a proposal to take over the old hardware store building and rehab it, bring it back to life, put a new roof on it, add the windows, make it more safe, more stable, and we can do that. We've got we are a 501c6 corporation, and we can own property. We can rent out property, just as the Spring Hope Chamber is doing, the Evelyn Chamber is doing with our license plate agencies. We are allowed to do this under those corporation laws. We would do this with a loan from the town of Bailey to be paid back as whatever you guys decide. You can do it as a closed session meeting, and we can agree to the terms, negotiate back and forth. We will pay off the back taxes for the Nash County and the town of Bailey, and we would ask that the town of Bailey refund their portion of the taxes back to the chamber so we can recycle that money back into that building. But otherwise, if we don't do anything, then you have, only thing I see is you've got one option. That's to tear that building down and clear it. So if you tear it down and clear it, you've got a big open piece of property that you can't do anything with for forever. If you guys agree with what I've given you, talk about it, and we can think about it and talk about it next meeting. I've already talked to the lawyer that I do business with. This is all easy to do. I can sign the property from Alan Wayne Kent right over to the Chamber of Commerce, and we can proceed with repairing this building. We went inside it, we've measured. The structural engineer has gone inside it. The walls are stable. A lot of the floor system is stable. Some of the front roof system is leaking. That's because nothing was repaired from a long time ago. But if we can do this now, if you want to help us. If you don't want to help us, then we can bring in demolition crews and go for it, tear it down. I'll do either one you want to do is fine with me. I'll do we can take on this project and do it, or we can tear it down. I think it'll take us about 6 to 7 months to stabilize it, add a roof to it, and make it safe again. And I have run a lot bigger projects than that little building, so I can do it. I can, as a project manager, I can do it. Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil.
Yep.
I have a question. I'm new, but I have questions, so I have to ask them. I've read some of the stuff about y'all discussing this, about the building. I think it's a great idea. I'm all for what Mr. Hall has proposed about saving the building. That's my personal opinion. Everybody's got one. But I have a point that I wanted to bring out, and that being, if you're gonna use town money, that even with your negotiations, you have before you copies of the figures, which you may want to negotiate in closed sessions but because it is town money, I don't know whether you're legally obligated, but doesn't it make good business sense and community good gesture to at least let us know the terms of any agreements that you reach? Because we are partners in whatever you do.
Yeah, Ms. Scott, I'm sure we'll let everybody know up front what we're doing if we decide to go. There's been several different routes we've been presented before us, and we haven't went on any of them yet just because there's a right way and a wrong way to do it within the government.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, this money was downtown revitalization specifically kind of for this building, even though it doesn't have to be spent exactly on this building. That was kind of the intent. It was come here for downtown revitalization. As long as it's not food, drink, or town salaries or entertainment, we could spend it on stuff to revitalize downtown Bailey. But the main priority is that building right now. And it's either spend the $100,000 grant to knock it down, or spend a good chunk of that money try to bring it back.
I understand, but my point is, even if we do put it in the building or not put it in the building, whatever project we bring, is it gonna be a matching part that comes from the citizens? Is there any matching part that comes from the
I
citizens?
haven't seen that.
Or straight out grant from the state
It's gonna-
and federal?
Well,
Straight out grant?
It's gonna probably be the grant, and unless somebody wants to invest in the chamber.
Gotcha.
And like say there were private investors that wanted to come along and invest in that, they could do that, but I haven't seen any money from anywhere else coming.
Well, that's
from-
good to know.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, up next we have Walter Wells, Chair of Bailey Planning Board.
Good evening, everybody. I too want to welcome Mr. Powell to the board. Thank you, sir, for volunteering to serve, and the planning board, I know I speak for them and myself, so we look forward to working with you. So thank you. The planning board did hold a meeting back on, I think it was April the 2nd. It was more of an administrative meeting. We did welcome Tyler Brock and Lisa couldn't attend that particular meeting. We welcomed them as the new members to the planning board also. But in our discussion on the planning board, we went back over our responsibilities, tried to review, what is set up in the ordinance and the things that we need to be doing. We are going to look at holding more regularly scheduled meetings on the second Tuesday of each month. Vince did provide us with a copy of the 2030 Long Range Community Plan, which we'll be looking at and seeing how the planning board impacts that, what we need to be doing, what we need to be looking at, what we can bring in front of y'all in that regard to going forward. We looked at any ideas for goals, both short range and long range, and Vince did mention one suggestion for the planning board would be to assist the zoning administrator by being the eyes and ears in town to, just to ensure that the zoning administrator is interpreting the ordinance correctly and for the long range goals and things that we're doing. So we'll try and get on track with all of that. So again, those goals were support the Downtown Strong Initiative, support the Museum Overlay District Review, support the zoning administrator, and also looking at any continuing education that any of the planning board members may can take that would facilitate what we do. So that was pretty much that particular meeting. Nothing was in front of us. I will make a comment concerning economic development with the town of Bailey. I may be wrong here, but I don't think so. The last new house in Bailey was built in 2003. It's been 14 years since there's been a house constructed that the town of Bailey would have been involved with. That includes the town and the EPJ. So 14 years is a pretty long time not to have any development at all. And with what we're looking at with the grants for the water and sewer, it's great that we're doing that, and hopefully we can move that forward. But it's not very short term, even if we get the grant. There's time involved in all this. So I would encourage everybody to be looking at what we can also be doing in this time frame to help Bailey from an economic development standpoint. And I think one of the things I'm going to encourage participation in too is, I think we have three houses, I think, currently in front of the town, or that the town's town's been looking at. So we got some new houses being established, and I love that because I want more people helping pay the sewer bill and water bill and the taxes to help further us along. So, but anything we can do in that regard, and I'll be talking with Vince, and if it's bringing in builders to let them sit down and talk to us about what they need, what they do with the county, how we can facilitate things, we want to do that too. So we're trying to help where we can in that regard, and just wanted to pass that on to you.
Thank you, Walter. Okay, up next, Mike Tolson, and with Matt Gay Associates.
Good evening. My name's Mike Tolson. I'm with Mackay Associates out of Rocky Mount. We're a civil engineering and surveying firm. You guys have been awarded a AIA drinking water grant from the state of North Carolina. Back in, I want to say it was October, we applied for it on the town's behalf, put together a grant application, and we just got awarded, or the town just got awarded, or got notice of the award this past month. So what you have before you in your packets is an engineering agreement to have Mackay Associates represent the town to prepare all of the deliverables that are described there in that account. Well, I don't know what you all may know about an AIA or anything like that, so I'm here to answer any questions you may have about that, but that's what the document is in front of you is. It's basically an engineering contract for us to represent the town when in preparing the deliverables that will use this grant money to provide critical asset inventory assessment of the drinking water infrastructure within the town. So what we'll do is survey the town, all of the fire hydrants, water meters, the tanks, the booster stations, the valves, the meters, everything we can find above ground, and based on paper maps and all historical evidence we can find for the town, we will generate those and create a GIS database that will be act as your GIS database going forward for public records and for your use in troubleshooting water issues and other different cutting off valves here, what the age of the infrastructure is. Another one of the products that we'll be creating with that, with the funds in that grant is an asset management plan, which will help assess what the critical needs in the system are. We'll go through based on age and material, based on number of breaks and main repairs and things like that that you've had in the system. We'll create a report that will generate and basically help you know where and when you need to assess and repair and maybe work on assessing the system and maybe spending a little bit of capital here and there to keep things from breaking down or to get the most life out of them that you can. Another thing that'll come from that will be a 10-year capital improvement plan, which will be a document to help you plan yearly in budgeting what your capital improvement needs are for your system from year to year. And of all those, there'll be a rate study that comes in for water as well that will help you understand if you ever need to increase rates or what the studies will be and how you fare in the surrounding area with the rates in the area around you to know how you compare with other municipalities that are selling water. So all of those are the documents that we'll put together as part of the AIA, and that's what the contract is for us to move forward. We've got a deadline of the 26th of this month from the state once they send the letter of intent to get them a scope for you guys to accept the funds, show that you've engaged an engineer and that you are willing to accept the grant funds and move forward with the program. And so that's why we're here tonight, to try and do the next steps and the things in and get ready to accept the grant funds and put these things in action. So anybody got any questions for me about what an AIA is or what it'll be?
I do. Now, will your document be public? Anything that you submit to the state is public, and anything you submit to the town can be requested under the Sunshine Law. So we'll be able to see it. But are you going to also pinpoint any areas of non-compliance that you find? I mean, you won't be able to order compliance, but will you be able to find, if you find that there is not enough upkeep or you find something wrong in some areas, will you be able to document that in your report?
Well, the report will point out what we think critical points in the infrastructure are. Say, for instance, and I take this because this is a general one, but we will go through fire hydrants in the town. We're talking about drinking water assets only. So fire hydrants in the town are primarily, all hydrants have a date stamp on them that tells you how old they are, that are cast into them. You can walk around the back of them, you can get those dates off of them. Those things tend to be 50, 60 years old and in good operating condition. Ones that get much older than that, it's hard to get parts for them, it's hard to fix them, they tend to be rusted or out of service, or they haven't been exercised enough to be used. We'll have a point in our report based on the an exercise system for the valves and for the hydrants, so that you can either get them working, or it may be something you want to plan for in your budget to maybe replace a few of them. So we won't say, you know, this is due to deferred maintenance. I can't assess
Correct.
what happened in the past.
I understand that.
I will certainly recommend, as an engineer, that, you know, you may want to look at replacing these on a more frequent basis and having some money generated in your budget that will somehow replace 10 a year, 5 a year, whatever a rate needs to be to get them all within a 25-year service life or a 50-year service life, whatever we choose out of the asset management.
Over the last 10 years, we've had 2 increases already. We just had one on sewer. And then we incurred 2 flat rate increases. We were supposed to be having these filters upgraded. And there was an order from EPA and the state that these filters on our water be upgraded. Now see, we incurred a charge to get our water clean, and nobody's going to complain about that. But with our tax base, I'm trying to figure out, you can come up with all these things we need to do, but with the tax base and with the already existing orders for the town to bring it up to a certain level, and we have all this infrastructure that's aging, because we already have, you get reports, you're going to be able to pull out state reports, because you have county reports now which show you some of the GIS, don't you? The county didn't they do some county GIS stuff?
I can't speak to that.
Okay
I don't
then,
know.
okay then, I understand. But we have incurred cost, 2 increases over the last 10 years for improvements in water already, and we're waiting for some of it to be enacted to improve our water, which hasn't come into being yet. So I'm just saying, and I want to make sure I can read this report. So I do hope that it's going to be so we can read it.
Well, it certainly will be delivered to the town, who will be our client. And I'm sure once it's handed to them, it is public record, and they should be able to provide it to you. Now, however the town would like me to engage with you on the,
Gotcha.
you know, outside of it, I'm happy to discuss with you.
Okay then,
You know.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a standard AIA contract, no changes.
It is a standard engineering agreement form, but it's not an AIA contract.
Okay, so it's a standard agreement form, reference AIA.
It probably does reference AIA in some points, but it's not on their standard form of contract.
Gotcha. Will it have a detailed scope of inclusions and exclusions?
It does. Not exclusions, but it does include what the scope of services is and what our deliverables are.
And will there be discussion about how you will deal with items outside of the contractual inclusions if you run across it?
If we run across them, no, there's nothing in there, because it talks about what our specific deliverables are, and they are a GIS database, an asset management plan, a capital improvement plan, and a rate study, and an executive summary explaining all of those.
I got you. So there's no physical limitations involved with this at this point? It's
Well,
just
well, we're only doing a drinking water asset management, drinking water CIP, so it won't include the sewer assets or water treatment assets or sewer treatment assets. That is not the scope of this AIA.
Gotcha.
But for the most part, we will locate as much above-ground water infrastructure, and we will amass all of the information we can on the water infrastructure, history, material type, age, diameter, size type, all that. All of the information I can pull together to make a living, breathing GIS map of the town, so that we have that tool going forward.
And that would be the town's document after you complete?
It will be the town's model of their GIS, yes, sir, and that they have access to and can, you know, decide how to edit or how they want to manage it in the future.
Will there be a document in there about it, if the town wants your services further, what they may run, what it would cost?
We can certainly work on that.
That's just a
At-
suggestion.
Right, and at this point, the deliverable is the document, and we can certainly talk about how it is managed in the future. The idea is to train, town staff or allow town staff to manage it in any way that they see fit, whether that is depending on whether you want survey grade accuracy or if you just want general locatable accuracy. Just depends on how you want to manage it in the future, and as we get more comfortable with the software and you guys are trained on it, or whoever you want to represent it is trained on it, we'll further that as we need to. It can be very detailed, it can be very general. It's a very, very useful piece of equipment. So.
Thank you.
No, he was just,
Okay, okay.
I didn't know who was supposed to be.
All right. Thomas Ellis with Envirolink is not here. Unfortunately. Tammy. Sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
Here we have Tammy Bissett, Director of Southern Nash Senior Center.
Thank you very much for letting me be here tonight to introduce myself and tell you just a little bit about the Southern Nash Senior Center. My name is Tammy Bissett, and I am the Senior Center Supervisor. My director might not appreciate me saying that I'm the director, so I'll tell you that my title is Supervisor. The Southern Nash Senior Center opened on March the 8th during our ribbon cutting ceremony, and we had a tremendous turnout. The community really, really turned out. That following Monday, the 11th, was our first day open, so we've been open just barely over 30 days. Attendance is growing every day. Our traffic is just really increasing. We're located at 8180 Stony Hill, excuse me, Church Road, just outside of Bailey. Our hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And I just wanted to let you guys know that we're there, and I would love for you to stop by and take a tour of the center. Dwayne and Kelly were there, Shelley was there for the ribbon cutting. I'd love for the rest of the board to come see us. It is a beautiful center to be located anywhere, but to be located outside Bailey, it really is a big, big deal for our community. I have some familiar faces here tonight, some people that are coming to see me, and I would love to see everyone else. If you'll stop by, I'll give you a personal tour. If the board has any questions, I'd love to answer them for you, or if anyone else has a question, I'd love to answer.
Do you have some brochures?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If that's okay, I'll leave those with you tonight. This is actually our newsletter and our April calendar, so it gives you a detail of everything that we had or have going on for the month of April. Our contact information's on here, and you can sign up for our newsletter to receive it via mail or email. And I'd love to add you to the list so we can let you know what we got going on for the rest of the year. Love to see you guys. Come see us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll get these.
Okay.
Thomas Ellis with Envirolink, he's not here. He's had his sickness come up. So I'll read the Envirolink report right quick. Public relations, does the report. Community involvement, done the report. There were the events, done the report. Town issues, significant washout occurred of the gravel pad leading to Bailey's wastewater treatment plant spray fields on April 13th, and we need a load of gravel delivered. Okay. Significant meetings. I want to call this out right here. Envirolink is in the process of coordinating the personnel and equipment needed to schedule your AIA sewer grant project. Once the personnel and equipment are in place, Envirolink will assist the town of Bailey in applying for AIA sewer grant extension as requested by the state. This grant was awarded. It was filed for in 2016. We were awarded it 2017. Nothing's been done on it since. So, and then what this does is the same thing he was just saying on the water grant just a minute ago is they go in, they look at all pipes, valves, everything, tell us where they're at, conditions, warning signs, whatever. So, and this information is very vital for if you ever want to get off sewer moratorium. They ask to see if you got an asset plan. And anyway, we don't have one. We hadn't had one since 2013. So anyway, so they're saying once the personnel and equipment are in place, they're environment to assist town in better in applying for a sewer grant extension as requested by the state. However, we made them aware today that the board was gonna talk about that tonight in closed session. So, just throwing it out there. I'm calling on. Yard waste will be picked up April 1st and 15th, just today. May 1st and 13th, mowing began April 13th, and they'll keep on, throughout the summer. They read 340 meters. Water produced 1.67 milligallons. And then, same thing, sewer 3.50, and they billed 247 customers. Average amount of rainfall during the current month was 6.8 inches. Moving on. Heather Driver with Copy Pro.
Thank you all for having me here tonight. I'm Heather Driver with Copy Pro. Copy Pro is a family-owned copier dealership. We're based out of Greenville. I've been there 12 years. I live right down the road, actually in northern Johnston County, but please don't hold that against me. I married into it. Debbie reached out to me when not too long after she got started, and I don't know if you've seen the office equipment in the office, but it's a little bit maybe dated. There's several different printers that are serving the needs right now, but we feel like that there could be better for you guys for the efficiency of your office staff. We looked back, and it looks like you guys are spending around $140 a month just on ink cartridges for the multiple MFPs. I believe there's a couple of printers and one that's all in one unit. So I talked with Debbie. We came in and did an analysis. We looked at how much paper you guys are using on a monthly basis for reports, board packets, accounting reports, just general different daily printed items that any business or organization would have. We identified the need to have a desktop copier, printer, scanner, and fax. That would be an all-in-one unit. And there was a desire to have black and white as well as color capabilities on that packet. So at Copy Pro, we represent two different brands of copiers. We represent Konica Minolta and we represent Savin. Savin is made by Ricoh Family Group. A lot of people say I've never heard of Savin before, but Ricoh is one of the top 3 manufacturers of copiers in the nation. So what we came up with was, after reviewing the needs of the town, was a Savin MPC 307 copier. It's actually up front in the office if you want to take a peek at it on the way in or out. This copier is a 31-page-a-minute copier, printer, scanner, and fax. And we'd like to propose it to the town at $115 a month versus the $140 a month that your average ink is costing you. So with that price per month, that is a lease. It is a 60-month lease. It's a fair market value term. So what that means is you don't actually own the copier at the end of the contract, but it does offer the ability to upgrade early should the town's needs change at some point during the lease. It is my responsibility to meet with the town once a year to review your volumes and how the copier is being used, so we can identify if there are needs that have changed. It sounds like from the what's been on the agenda, you guys are kind of looking into growth mode, so we would hope that maybe you guys will be growing over the next few years. The copier, of course, it'll make copies. Anything will put ink on paper, but what makes Copy Pro different is that we have 49 years of experience in the office equipment industry. Like I said, we are a locally owned company. I've got a 12-year tenure there, and in addition to my once-a-year account reviews, we actually have a 20-person service team that is at your service. If you have a service issue right now, if one of the store-bought printers were to go down, you would probably throw it away and go to Staples and buy a new one. So our equipment is made to be repaired on site. It's made to last. Our technicians, from the time you call us, from the time we arrive on site, it's less than 4 hours response time. So you will get back up and running. We want you up and running. We don't want you to be down. Our technicians stock their vans with about $15,000 worth of parts and supplies per service vehicle. The reason they do that is because they want to have all the parts and supplies they need to fix the equipment the first time they come and visit. So we don't wanna have to come out, oh, we have to go order that roller, or we don't have to go order that part, and then we have to come back and forth. We want you up and running all the time. In addition to that, the service is included in that $115 a month. From what we talked about, we estimated probably between, around 5 reams of paper per month being utilized. So the contract would actually include 2,350 pages per month, and that's black and white pages. The color would be billed pay as you go. We weren't sure how much of what you printed was color versus black and white, and we didn't want to include a bunch of color copies that you may or may not use. So if you print one color page, the first month you have it, you'll get a bill for 8.8 cents. So you only pay for the color you'll actually use. If you're concerned about color being misused, we can put account codes on the machine, so you have to have a code to actually print the color. That'll prevent, maybe accidental printing or copying of color. But it sounds like with some of your maps and some of your projects, you may have the need to print color from time to time. It has one paper tray and it has a bypass tray as well. This particular unit will run letter or legal size paper. Debbie and I did talk about the possibility of maybe needing to run 11 by 17 paper maybe in the future, but the cost difference just was not, it went from $115 a month to $179 a month. So we just didn't feel like it was a good trade-off to be able to do the 11 by 17. Additionally, we talked about scanning. So the copier will scan. It'll scan color pages, black and white pages. We don't count scans against the service agreement. You can scan every piece of paper in the building, and if we have to replace a document feeder, then we have to replace a document feeder. That's covered under the service agreement as well. So with scanning, we identified there's quite a few banker's boxes of information. And so I asked Debbie if you had to go pull something out of one of those banker's boxes, I guess, is that how you would have to retrieve information that, say you wanted some board minutes from 5 years ago or something? She said yes. So, there's a lot of time involved in searching for documents that have been stored away in a paper box somewhere. So with the copiers, there's actually an add-on software that you can, it is $50 a month. It's a small, what's called DocuWare Business Server package. And it'll actually scan, if you have a typed document, it'll scan, it'll actually read the text on the page. So it's using what's called OCR technology, which is optical character recognition. So you can search these PDF files that are in a box right now as long as someone scans them in. You can search for a keyword, you can search for a property address, you can search for someone's name, or maybe you want to look for a vendor's name or something like that. So that was a $50 a month add-on. That's optional. You don't have to do that now. You can add it on later, but it's a good way to basically kind of update your record keeping so you don't have to worry about banker's boxes full of information. Now once it's scanned, it is stored here on your server, here on site, so it's not going to a cloud or anything like that. So it's your data. It's just allowing you the ability to scan and be able to retrieve the information that you've stored. So just in summary, Heather Driver with CopyPro. The copier's up front. I'm available if anyone wants to see it. I'm not going to stay for the whole board meeting, but I'm going to leave a folder with my card up front. And if anyone would like to actually see a demonstration of the unit, I can do that. Right now, it's just set up to copy. It is able to print and scan fax if it's connected to do so. If you choose to keep the copier, we can have our IT team come out and install print drivers on the computers to be able to print, and then also you can scan back to an email address or a network folder with the machine as well. It does AirPrint from iPhones and iPads, so I don't know if any of your employees are using any of that technology, but they would be able to print from their mobile device as long as they're on the town network. You can't obviously be in Wilson and print something back to Bailey. Although that technology is available, that's something through Google Cloud Print that we can set up for you separately. That's actually a free service through Google. So, does anyone have any questions?
So when I was updating the website, I noticed that we have a page on our site that says that claims to provide meeting minutes from past years, but it's only like a small window. So to increase the transparency of this government for the people, I'd like to provide more minutes from many more years. Is that something, that technology to be able to search terms, does that stay within the document itself, or is that something that's kind of is that software specific?
So with this $50 a month package, you're scanning the documents and it's storing on your server here. So it's sold by number of users. So obviously, you know, the town staff would have that access. They'll have a login and a password to be able to access these documents and search for them. I'm sure there is technology available where you can have outside users search within, but that's a little over my pay grade as far as IT and security and things like that.
Yeah.
But we can definitely work with your IT provider to find the right solution to basically put a link to that from the website and patch it in. CopyPro uses the same thing. We have some web forms that we utilize. I have them bookmarked on my phone. Whenever I need to look up a customer's information, I can go on my cell phone and type in the customer's name, and then I get a PDF back in my email. So I know it can be done. I'm not sure about how that would work with security and IT stuff.
On your fair market value, will you put will you do a percentage instead of fair market value? I just done leasing equipment in the past. I never been a fan of fair market value. I either do $1, either 30%, 15%. Will you change the terms on that?
I can specify what the fair market value will be at the end of the lease if you do decide to purchase it. They use the term fair market value. It's kind of loose, yeah. So basically, the fair market value at the end of the lease is set by the leasing company. So they actually tell me what they feel the price would be. I've been doing this a little while, and usually it's between 10 and 20% of the original cost. So
but the problem I had that a lot of companies will go back and say that the price is 50%.
yeah, we can write that in your contract. And then for dollar buyout leases, there are options available where you can own the copier at the end of the lease. But I want you to keep in mind, a dollar buyout lease is not a good way to finance equipment if you want to own it.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to own it, it's going to be cheaper, or less expensive to just pay cash for it up front. But you are talking about technology. So these copiers, I don't know if you saw it, it's got almost like a little tablet on the front. They're kind of like cell phones and computers and everything else. So technology, a lot changes in 5 years. So by putting capital into a piece of equipment that may be outdated in 5 or 6 years.
I just really have a price, stated
Absolutely.
in the contract, so it's the same
Absolutely.
fair market value.
We can state that in the contract, yes, sir.
Thank
You're welcome.
Now for the scanning, they have to have a scanner to scan all that in,
It
correct?
serves as a scanner as well.
It will serve as a scanner. So you have to hit a function key and then it'll scan it
Mhm.
straight to their server?
Well, we can set it up several different ways. We can scan it directly to an email address,
Gotcha.
a folder on the network, which would then, you can drag
Okay.
and drop into that software.
Okay, so you're using something like AirDrop or something like that? Or
Well-
it's just dropping it?
The copier will be assigned an IP address on the network.
Okay then, okay.
So it's all working
Okay
within
then,
your network.
got its own IP.
Mhm.
Okay,
And we actually have an IT staff that would come in and do all this setup. too.
so they'll do that.
I may
That's
sound
a-
like I
that's
know
a
a lot
night-
about it,
That's a
but-
nightmare there.
Oh, I know.
That IT is a nightmare.
Yeah, every time you go to Staples and buy something off the shelf and then you have to set it up at home, I don't know about you, but mine never works.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm glad to have a team to
Yeah.
take care of those things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. All right, up next, Ben Alford is supposed to be here, he's not here. So next, we can go open this up for public comment. You're limited to 3 minutes. If you're a group, you have one spokesperson, 3 minutes.
You skipped Mr. Tad.
John.
Don, I guess you raise your hand first. Yes, sir.
I'm John Anthony. We'll talk about the audit.
Oh, that's because it
But
was.
yeah, and sorry, we skipped you, it's not on the agenda.
No, I revised it and Thomas didn't have the revision, that's my fault.
No big deal. Got all night.
Tax time, nobody want to hear about all that.
Thank you. My name's John Anthony. I'm a partner with Anthony Tabb, CPA for Wilson, and we've done the town's audit for about 25 years. I'm not sure how long. And we've never run into a situation like we've had this year with the audit being this late, and it is late. And I met with Middlesex last Monday to talk about theirs, because it's the same situation there. And so I just, wanted a chance to meet with you and give you an update as to, what's caused it. We're gonna have the report and also give you some assurance that once you do get it, it's going to be a good report. And I've got some numbers, for you tonight. But first, let me back up. I had decided last year, I've been doing audits, for 43 years. And I was ready to step back and just, rather than actually doing the audits, just be more of a supervisor. And we have two people in our office. One is a senior staff person who's done audits. He's my age, and we've done them together forever, and he was gonna continue doing it. And the other is my son, who is a CPA, and has been with us for 5 or 6 years, ever since he finished college, and he's worked on town audits, and they wanted to keep doing them. And so that was fine. And the senior person, as it turns out, began getting sick about this time last year. We didn't know it at the time, but by midsummer, he was starting to, he was kind of struggling. And it progressed, and it turned out he did not work on any town audits at all. My son went out, and we do 3 towns, and he did all the audit work himself and did a really good job. Then it came time to writing the audit report. And if you look at your 65, 70-page audit report, they are extremely difficult to write. And so, the only way he's gonna learn was to do it the same way I did. And so, he did it, and he's written the report. It's in pencil form. As you can imagine, there was a steep learning curve. And, one thing led to another. We had our peer review in November, which took some time away from our work. And, next thing you know, it's tax season. And so the report, like I said, it's been written. It's there for me to review and get it finalized and typed. And we just had to, had to make a choice. Do I get the town audits finished, or do I try and get through tax season okay? So anyway, that's where we are. We talked, the senior person, I doubt that he's gonna be able to participate in town audits this coming year, although he has been working part-time. But I've committed to my son that I will get back in and help him, because he does want to continue doing it. And he's doing a good job. He's just, not familiar with writing that big audit report. So I will, between now and your next meeting, get the report finished, and it'll be here at your next meeting. And if you'll just look at this as in 25 years, this is the only time this has happened. It's just one of those things. It wasn't anything by choice. We just ran into a difficult set of circumstances. But let me give you some numbers so you'll see that it is going to be a good audit report. I sent some financial statements to Debbie. I don't see any on your desk. I don't know if you've got copies of. Yeah, there's some. What you're looking at, these are just in-house statements that we have generated, and this helps us write the audit report itself. So we don't have to go through and add up a lot of individual numbers. In the general fund, I always point out your cash is an important number. At the end of the year, June 30th, it was $328,000 in your operating account compared to $250 the previous year, so that was an increase of $78,000. The total cash increased by $89,000. And on a fund in a town of your size, an increase of that much in 1 year is a really good amount. So I think that's going to kind of set the stage for the rest of my comments. Turn to the third page where we get into the statement of revenues and expenses. You see we've got these budget, actual, the variance, and in the previous year. As you go through the expenses, you'll see that each department, when you look in the variance column, each department, you spent less than what was budgeted, which of course is required by state law, but that doesn't always occur. So I think it's going to show you did a good job of setting your budget at the beginning of the year and then making any amendments that were needed throughout the year. Turn all the way to the next to the last page of the general fund. About 3/4 of the way down, it's got revenues over, under expenditures. The actual column is a positive $98,000. So you took in $98,000 more than you spent. And you can also see up above that, your expenditures You budgeted $586,000 and only spent $447,000. So that's contributed a great deal to the surplus that you had for the year. You also spent $18,000 less than you did the previous year. But again, the general fund, I think, performed very well and is in very good shape. Next, set of statements for the water and sewer fund. Kind of got the same thing. The financial statements are in a little different format, but that's just the nature of accounting for a general fund compared to a utility fund. Total cash at the end of the year is $295,000 compared to $253,000 at the beginning of the year, so that's a nice increase to $42,000. You reduced your debt by $38,000, so even though you paid down some debt, your cash was still increased during the year. And on the income statement, as with the general fund, all of the departments were within budget. And the water and sewer fund, you record depreciation expense, which is, that's a bookkeeping entry. It's not cash money that went out, and that was $104,000. So if you add that back, since that wasn't cash, you see the change in net assets was a negative $18,000. But if you add back the depreciation, it's a positive $86,000. And that's basically the cash money that you had available to make debt payments and then increase the amount of money you had in the bank. So again, just like with the general fund, the water and sewer fund, I think you'll see in the audit report, had a good year and is in good financial condition. So again, you're going to get a good audit report, and I really do apologize that it's been this late. And we will take steps, or I have taken steps already to make sure this doesn't happen again. And we'll be here at the next meeting with the formal audit report.
Thank you, sir. Anybody got any questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, open this up again. Public comment, 3 minutes. Your group, you got one spoke for 3 minutes as well.
Thank you for the town board, for letting me speak. I'm Chad Bissett, Fire Chief for the Bailey Fire Department. I addressed, some concerns last August about, hydrants that were not repaired. We have 5 currently. We had 5 then, and we still have the same 5 that are out of service. We have 4 that are completely out of service and 2 that are just are leaking. So I just wanted to try to bring that up again. I know we're 8 months into it since the last time I come up here, and it doesn't seem like anything has been done. So as I said the last time, that we can provide fire protection for the town via tank water, but each time that a hydrant goes down, that's less fire protection for the citizens of Bailey. So I just want to encourage the town to move forward with trying to get these hydrants fixed. This year, in 2019, we will form our 5-year flows as per the North Carolina Response Rating Survey, meaning we will be flowing the hydrants probably in June or July, and that is a requirement to keep our insurance rating at a class 3, which we are extremely proud of. So that's all I got.
Do we have those locations?
Yes, I have presented them before, but I can give them to you again.
Thank you.
Any questions?
What happens when you flow the hydrants? What does that mean? What do you do?
If you'll notice, all the hydrants are color coded.
Yes.
Blue, green, orange, and red. What that means is there's a specific gallons per minute that comes out of that hydrant, and so we have to flow those to make sure that they are current and they're staying at the same gallons per minute that they're coded.
Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm Walter Wells again. This time I'm speaking for myself. So I didn't want to make comments for the planning board here, but I was a little struck earlier about the comment about the building and the potential for it. I had understood that we also had other folks that's interested in the building. I don't know where that discussion has gone, but the information I heard from Cecil is the only option you have is the Chamber of Commerce or tear it down. But that's, I'm just saying, the comments that you made were, there's two options, for you to do it or to tear it down. You didn't mention that there was another private group that was interested in the building, so I just encourage the town to look at all options and whatever is best for the town, and that's what we move forward with. I'm assuming if the Chamber of Commerce is interested in this building, that the board of the chamber and businesses in the chamber are involved in this too, and that it's something that they're looking for the town to do. I don't want to be misconceptions about what people are speaking about or saying they're going to do. So again, whatever's best for the town of Bailey, I encourage y'all to investigate, look at, and do. And if it's outside person, it's outside person. If it's inside the Chamber of Commerce, then that's fine too. But due diligence is required.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm just here, I'm showed my support for saving the building. I'm still interested in it. I was a little late, had late notice on the meeting tonight, and that's pretty much all I have to say.
All right, yeah, we're trying to look at we've been looking at every option. I've had so many conversations on the phone with State Department of Commerce, and anybody and their brother that wanted to talk about it and tell me what to do and what not to do, and who to get help out and who not to help out, and it's a slippery slope as far as who you can give money to. And
I've been talking to people as well in little towns and seeing what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been, I've met with everybody. I think I've been pretty open on talking to everybody. So.
Well, are you interested, definitely want to get the building or fix it up?
Yes, I started this thing and kind of wanted to
Well, it seems to me that somebody needs to have a plan to show somebody if you're interested in what is your plan.
And how long is it gonna be before y'all do anything to it? That's my thinking.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about it, but, you looked at it and, been talking about it.
I've had some meetings with contractors and small towns, people have done projects like this before. But, you really can't make a move until you understand what kind of support you can get from Bailey, whatever that is.
So you're saying Bailey's the holdup, you need to get more information from Bailey
Well,
before you can make it.
we had a meeting end of March. I just haven't heard anything, and I just came out to get curious, see what was going on with it.
Yes, sir.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to be here too.
They nobody said it.
The town
They can see it.
Well, hey everybody. It's good to see politics is alive and well. I just want to say I'm grateful to see our town moving forward. And it's been interesting being here tonight. I have a major concern about our water because we've been on this path for over a year and a half. Y'all may not be aware of that. But your staff I've asked for some information on where we are on it. I've been checking on. The state had asked the town of Bailey to give reports on how you're moving towards getting these filters purchased and put in so that our water can meet the standards and maintain the standards. And it's a health issue. And I'm trying to make sure we don't get these boil notices, although they are infrequent. For people with chronic health needs, it is a problem. And for people with children, pregnant, and chronic health needs. So that's a problem for me and my family. And I had to invest in filters for my home, for my shower, and for drinking, and buy water. Plus, I have incurred the additional cost of that fee that we have incurred on our bill. Plus, if I happen to go over that 5,000 gallons, we're going to get it for the sewer also. And then, moving forward, we're going to be looking at what we need to do with all of these aging pipes. And we know our infrastructure is bad. because all over the country is bad. So we know we have aging pipes, and we know that the Bailey system doesn't run straight. These pipes are all over. We don't know how they're running. So we know we have aging pipes. Our base may not be able to support the needs that may be going forward, but there are regulatory requirements that the town must reach to make sure they do what the state and EPA has ordered them to do. And I just speak for safety and health reasons, not to be upset or make anybody's day bad, because I'm going to continue to inquire about where we are, and y'all have given me the information. It was emailed, and I haven't read it yet. But I just want to encourage you to please stay on top of that. Please make sure that our children at the school can eventually one day drink that water without being in danger. Okay? That's important.
Yes, ma'am. I understand your concerns. A matter of fact, we met here in December, a special meeting to speed up the process with McGill and Associates and EnviroLink on the filtration project. It hasn't started yet. There have been some milestones that have been missed, not on this board's part. That's what we were informed last week, but the project should be starting anytime. I know everybody's, has been saying that around here forever, but it should be starting. When they say what day?
Yeah, it's, the completion date is September, so it's gotta
that's
start
great.
very soon, so, yes.
I think it's in May.
And-
So it's in
The
May.
June,
beginning.
July, August,
And
September.
so-
They're anticipating 4 months gonna be long enough?
I don't know, I don't know.
Right.
And so, and then going back to the aging pipes, so we got, basically about 279, 280, give or take,
Yeah.
sewer customers here in Bailey. In order to replace all the pipes, or
Yeah,
whatever,
that's almost-
it would just, you wouldn't be able to afford the
No, we
sewer
would not.
water here. So that's why we're really trying to swing for the fence and get grants and try to do other stuff that hasn't been done in the longest time to go out and fix these issues. If we don't get this round of grants, this spring, they're gonna come back in blocks and look at each section of the town based on income or whatever, and try to go after different grants to go in and repair or replace pipes and stuff like that. I wish there was more I could offer tonight, but I can't.
Well, you're giving me enough. But I want you to understand that when I made my first inquiry, before going to the state and before going to the EPA, I did grant research. I don't write them, but I did look for grants, and I sent that information in, because I know we need the money.
Yes, ma'am.
We can't do it on our tax base alone. We don't have that much money. I don't have it.
No,
Off of my income, you can't do it.
no, ma'am.
But we can do what we can do.
Yes, ma'am. We're trying.
So I understand, but as a family who pays taxes and my water bill, I have to have water I can drink and bathe in.
Yes, ma'am. And I want you to have that, believe
I
me,
know.
man, so
But I'm just
we're
saying,
working on it.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You got anything else you want to add?
I just wanna say, I know they put a filtration system in a couple of years ago, before we got all us on the board. That filtration system failed. That's why we're going back redoing it again. It's not gonna prove, there's two things that's gotta happen. We can filter the water at the wells, we know the water's safe to drink. But the problem is, if it goes down an iron pipe, it's gonna pick up iron, it's gonna be rusty time it gets to your house sometimes. And then that's why I have my filter at my house. And it does have an iron taste to it, especially after a lightning storm, I notice it's worse. And the next thing I have the biggest problem with, of course, I've been accused of stealing water from the town of Bailey, is I live at the end of the street. And in the summertime, the chlorine level, I understand, goes down in the water. And it gets a bad taste and a sulfur smell, like a hot water heater goes bad. So I flush my line myself, because EnviroLink doesn't do it. If you're getting that smell, please notify her, and we'll make sure somehow your line gets flushed.
I do.
Okay.
I do that. But what is also in question here is that the state of North Carolina cited the town of Bailey.
I understand.
They don't cite the town of Bailey when it's just some water getting in from the pipes. There is a legitimate, I wanna finish.
Yes.
Cause I'm not gonna gloss over this. There is a legitimate reason for being cited. There is a violation. And so what I'm saying is we have to stay safe. I wanna stay safe, okay? I have to buy a filter to go on my faucet. I had to buy a shower filter to keep from having a cyst on my skin. And we have a do not boil notice. Do not boil means you can't brush your teeth, you can't bathe in it, you can't wash your clothes, you can't do your hair, and it costs me more money. While I have all this attached to my bill. Now, I can't do all of it. And then we're talking about we're gonna get a report which might push it up a little bit more. I don't know where you're gonna get the money from.
Well, actually, I know you want to finish, but the reports, that's awarded through the grant. The grant goes straight to the company doing the report.
Yes.
So them and the engineering firm. So, it's like
Yes.
$155,000 on one, $150,000 on the other. So the town, it'll go straight to them.
Well, I understand they get paid, but I'm saying they're gonna give a report in the end which says this, and needs to be
Yes,
done.
ma'am.
And then we still can't afford it, but we know we have to do it.
Well, it would have to.
Yeah, we have to do
Keep
it.
applying for grants.
I don't wanna take up all the time, but I did wanna say that.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else got anything? Okay, now.
I've never been to a meeting before, I don't know how it's run, but I want to bring this up. Fire chief was in here earlier, I'm not sure that I understood him right, about flushing the hydrants. But when they do that, this before y'all came on board, I had an issue with that. When they flush the hydrant in Line Street, which you might not know about it, but you will know. When they do that, your water turn red. So I calls up here to ask, how long it's gonna be red. And I was told to run the water in my tub till it clear up. Okay, we get charged for water. I feel as if when they do that, they need to put something in place on that bill to knock it down. Because if I got run that water for a long period of time, gallons and gallons and gallons, till my water clear up to be able to wash clothes or do anything else, I think that bill need to come down.
Well, and that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
And there's at the end of the line, you need to go ahead and open that valve and run it till it gets clear. And if we have to train the fire department, but that's a violence job, which they have, I feel they've been falling down the job on that.
They have.
And we want to address some things. And, so if that happens, please notify us and we'll definitely put a ticket in to run that water, so it doesn't cost you.
Yeah, cause I was told to run it, my wife right there, she can verify, I was told to run it to clear it, I'm like, well, if I do that, my bill gonna be, it's already up anyway, dealing with the smell or whatever, that's the whole other
And I was
issue.
told the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, huh?
Well, it just,
I've been doing it for 60 years. And it
So, it's bad when you open that, washing machine, your clothes all red.
yes, sir. Well, I'm sorry you had to deal with it, man.
This before
Yes, sir.
y'all came, it's something, before you moved up, I'm telling you, when they come on this street and flush the hydrant, your water gonna be red for how many days? Like, about 3 days?
2 or 3.
4? And she said, well, you have to keep running these tubs.
She told me something. That's not right.
Yeah, I'm like, I never been here, but I'm glad I came. And you probably see me again. All right. Well, that's why what a problem. And I'm glad that y'all know about it.
It happens, it happens everywhere. Every town that they flush hydrants in, they don't flush them long enough, and that's what causes the problem.
Yeah, so when we come home, we see the fire truck.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, go ahead, just fill some bottles up, we should fill the tub, we should go ahead and put some clothes in the washing machine, cause you know what's gonna happen. And she told me that, and I was like, you serious? I'm being punked or something, man. Let it run till it turn clear. But anyway, though, okay.
Thank you. All right. So, anybody else got anything to say? All right. I'm gonna open this up, going to old business. Street paving estimates. Anybody got anything new?
Okay, well, we, asked for, let's see, who was asked for quotes. Weaver turned it down, Hawk Paving turned it down, SD Lucan turned it down, POT turned it down, is that right? And then we got 2 estimates from ABC and 1 from Williams. One is on, let's see, let me get the streets here. Jackson Street is $11,700. They will mill down 2 inches and go back and add 2 inches. And he said the guaranteed work for 2 years. He got part of Nash Street here, and that's $13,200. And that's also, recommended to mill down and go back and add for 2 inches. So I am gonna make a motion that we accept these 2 bids from ABC for $13,200 for Nash Street and Jackson Street, $11,700 to have completed. And the next street, after this will be, either Williams or Pine. So I recommend that we, future, the next street be done will be Pine, and that be put in the budget at $40,000. So, and that should, pretty much get everything going. So if I can have a second on.
Can you repeat the motion? Can you repeat the motion with the
I
figures?
make a motion that we accept the bid from ABC Paving for Nash Street at $13,200. And then we also accept the bid for Jackson Street at $11,700. And this is being milled down. It's different than this other one. They're gonna have to mill it down and get the surface right and then build it back up. Because what we're trying to avoid is like we see over here in front of the post office with all them cracks, because it wasn't milled down, and we're trying to, and this is why it's costing more money. We're trying to do this for long term, not short term.
Remember, the engineers gave us a list of priority for Jackson being number 1, Nash being number 2.
That's right.
So that.
And we did this one to fit in the budget, because it was just a matter of moving stuff in the budget, and then it's gonna be Pine and then Williams.
And we definitely need to do Pine, like, right after that.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, you got Walter, he's doing a bunch of work over there. Let's let Walter finish his work first.
Yeah, I'll finish it before you get to it.
Well, hopefully it'll be, we have the budget in July, maybe it'll be September, you know what I mean?
Hopefully if it's not finished by then, I'm in trouble.
Okay.
So I second
All right.
your motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next thing on old business, is, Waste Industries came here last month. They talked about recycling. I can't remember what it was, like 37 cents per each household or whatever. Well, the next day, the lady emailed me and said, hey, how the board like that? And I said, well, we decided to go with that. And then she said something about something else. Long story short, they sent out something, they want to raise the prices 5%, and I told her that, hey, we're in a contract. She said, yes, even though we're still in a contract, then we can still raise the rates. We can ask for, to raise the rates, and I told her, well, the board probably won't go for that, so I'm just bringing it up. Y'all wanna keep the price the same, or you wanna?
Okay.
I'm just asking. I already probably know the answer, but I gotta run it by y'all.
I know gas is going up, and that was agreed. If the prices increased due to fuel or anything, that she would come in and talk about it, and we would, we would help them out. I know the prices are going up, and if she wants to sit there and justify why she needs to go up like she did last time, we'll look at it. But they said they were coming in to justify why they're going up, just not throw a number.
Well, she justified the stuff about recycling, and that was great. And then a lot of places are still going away from recycling because it hasn't been solved yet. But it's 5% increase. If y'all would like to pass that on to anybody else or raise your rates yourself, I'm throwing it out there. But she said we didn't have to do it; they could just ask for it, and we could go along if we wanted to.
Well, she's got a justification for her, why she's got to go up, like the original contract said, we'll look at it.
All right, I'll send her an email back.
But I hope it, to the next budget year.
Okay. All right. This time we're gonna move on to new business. We're gonna swear in Mr. Irvine.
I know, right?
This tree actually makes it really hard to read.
Sign
Powell, you come up here and hold the Bible.
Don't hold the Bible.
Okay. Town of Bailey, North Carolina, Nash County, I, Irvin Powell,
I, Irvin Powell,
do solemnly swear that
do solemnly swear that
I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws
I will support the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws of North Carolina,
and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
discharge my duties
my duties
of my office, so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome aboard. Be all right. I'll sign. Okay, welcome aboard. All right, it's the first thing, new business tonight, besides swearing in Commissioner Powell. Last month, we talked about sidewalk quotes. We know we got a problem up there around here. We got a couple other places that need some addressing. So I think Cecil had one quote. Did the guy give you a written estimate?
$3,500 for roads around here with handicapped accessible ramps.
Okay, all right.
No more high steps.
Okay, so I got one set of quotes, but I'm still waiting on one more. So we'll get that out. Hopefully by the next meeting. I know it seems like every meeting we're delaying that, but we're trying. And then, okay, now we're gonna have department head remarks. Chief Rouser.
Hey, good evening. Congratulations, Mr. Powell. I provided the commissioners and the mayor with my monthly agenda, gave you all a copy of that. So I'm just gonna hit on a few points. It's been a productive first month so far here in Bailey. We made some strides in getting the police department back in order. We've established some lights in the back and lights in the front because it was dark. So that's been a big help, lighting the police department up and having the vehicle be seen and outside so everybody knows that we're here. And one of the first things I think I talked about last board meeting was about calling 911. We do have a town phone, but sometimes that phone, we're getting in the process of getting a new phone, but sometimes that phone does drop a call. So if there is an emergency, I suggest you call 911 and dispatch an officer or the county sheriff or the fire department, whatever the emergency is, they will dispatch it. So that's a big thing. And you have a non-emergency, if you leave a message on the phone, one of my officers or I will get back, within the next day, or, if we're out and about, then we will give you a call back. So you can leave a message on that phone so we can get back with y'all. The other thing is that the Governor's Highway Safety Program has kicked off the speed limit thing this month. Speed to Lose campaign has kicked off. So I will have my officers out. I got 2 officers that are radar certified, so they will be out around checking speeds. Because I've noticed for the past 2 weekends when I've been working, coming into town, people speed horribly, coming down Pine Street, coming up Dean Street, coming off Oak Street. And within next week, I'll be going to radar school too. I've been radar certified before, so I'm gonna become radar certified too. But like coming down by the school, 50, 55 miles an hour, that has to cease. I don't want that in town. So this weekend, or this week, Officer Garland and Officer Kane, they will be out running radar. So, and part of the campaign. And then next month is a click it and ticket, and that goes on for 2 weeks. So everybody needs to buckle their seatbelts. A lot of people in town that I know when y'all hired me, they said, well, he's from Wake County, he's gonna write a lot of tickets. Well, I haven't written any tickets yet, but everybody needs to buckle their seatbelt. So a lot of people around town, and I've stopped a few people, I warned a few people, and I have a grace period, but sooner or later, my grace period, you gotta buckle that seatbelt. I mean, I've never unbuckled a dead person in 20 years. And I'm sure Mayor Richards probably, being a firefighter, you probably test the same thing. Seatbelts save lives. And then I've had a few calls about the phone scams. That's been a big thing in Wake County, and it's been going on. So if you have somebody calling and want your information, your Social Security or information, your banking information, do not give it out to anybody. I've taken a couple reports for that. That's going around. So if it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. So give me a call or give Officer Callahan a call. We'll come out, we'll take the report, but do not give out your information, your banking information, your Social Security information. And then I'm really excited about April 28th, where I'm gonna have my first open house. We're gonna have my open house from 12 to 2. Officer Kane and myself will be doing bike safety. We've got a whole box of helmets in there that we're gonna be giving out to children. We got a whole bunch of gun locks. So we're gonna set the 2 police cars up. We're gonna have tables, cookies, balloons. It's geared towards children. We're getting a flyer. We're gonna distribute it over to the school so we can get the kids to come out. And I talked to Chief Bissett earlier to see if he can provide a fire truck. So I thought that'd be good community policing for us and the fire department. We can all get together. And that's gonna be 12 to 2 on Sunday the 28th. So hopefully Chief will give me a fire truck out there. So I think that'd be good too. I did present a couple things that I know that I've asked for a couple things. And I got in here about the gun safe, but I talked to Commissioner Killian about that earlier. That I don't want to discuss that and why I need the gun safe. I would have to discuss that in closed session. And then I would like to get a street light in between the police department and the old fire department in that alleyway because it's so dark right there. And instead, you got a quote for CP&L, said it'd be between $12 extra a month that we could put a big light right there because it's a safety issue. That's the only thing that I really would like. Other than that, the police department's well lit up now. And lastly, last week was a long week for me. My wife was involved in an explosion up in Durham. She was in the building when it exploded. So I would
Glad
thank,
she's here tonight.
Yes. But to reiterate on that, Officer Garland, I called him, he came in within a pinch. He worked like a shift for me. Officer Coggin came in and worked nights so I could work during the day. So that was great help. And
Yes.
Officer Callahan has been doing an excellent job. She solved a big case with a bunch of break-ins, and we made an arrest, and she recovered a whole bunch of property, so she's been doing outstanding work. So we're very pleased with her and the officers I have here. And like I said, Officer Garland has been helping me get the police department back in order, and we've made really big strides doing that. And Officer Kane has been great. Every time I call her, she's a bit more than willing to come in, but that's basically all I have.
And thank you for the Facebook updates and reminders.
Yeah, they're great. I like that.
Oh, breaking news.
That's awesome.
We're so happy to have you. That's good.
Thank you, Chief.
I'll give my bad news reports first so I can end on a good note.
Okay.
So, code enforcement, I think I've reported last month that I had submitted a non-compliance letter to the Wilson property. They have corrected that. Everything looks great there. I talked to them, I met with them in person. They seem very receptive to the whole thing, so they're all done. I had when I first took the job, I received a complaint via the email, or via the website, for 6640 William Street, which is a vacant property. And this is one of those where I really hate my job, and I have to actually submit a letter to this because this is for somebody who's in a nursing home. So I submitted that letter. We will most likely be, we've got till the end of the week, we'll most likely will be having to take action to correct it. But it is a safety hazard. I mean, there are trees falling down on a piece of property that needs to get cleared out. So we've got till the end of the week before we take action on that one. So I believe our course of action is we task EnviroLink with cleaning up the property. Does anybody know? I guess I'll work on that. The other one is a business. A business on Dean Street across from Brock Equipment, East Coast Paint and Body, Woodrow, Strickland's old car lot. they're in violation of two, they were given a conditional use permit when they filed for their permit to open the business there. One of them was they were not to do full body painting on site because they don't meet environmental safety requirements to be able to do that. They don't have paint booth. They are doing more than 3 square foot of painting over there, so they're in violation now. But the bigger issue is the eyesore. The place is turned into a junkyard, and their conditional use permit clearly states that they're not to have vehicles there for greater than 30 days. They need to be actively working on them, and there are vehicles that have been there for probably a year and haven't moved. So they've got to the end of the week before we start taking action on that one. So those are the bad cops. The good news, and this kind of hit on, so this is my zoning administrator hat, to kind of piggyback on something that Walter Wells said, and I didn't know this, that there has been any new construction in the town of Bailey in 13 years. This month, I've signed 3 zoning permits authorizing construction on 3 new homes in Bailey. All Ellen Stone is working on, one at the corner of Jordan and Williams, one on Pine Street, and one on Reed Street. So that's a good sign. And many inquiries from people both in the ETJ and in town wanting to bring in or inquiring about building or bringing in modulars, just finding out what the rules are. I know that there's one other potential, probably by this time next month, I'll have all the paperwork on it, but another home they're gonna start building out on Finch right next to where I live, so, more growing. That's all I have. Let's go.
So you're talking stick-built houses, or you're talking the modulars?
No, the 3 that have been approved in the last month are stick-built.
Thank you, Mitch. Al? Mr. Pop? Say it one time.
Let's see, I just wanted to give a, update. We're working here with, the clerk, Kelly and Debbie, for, work orders with EnviroLink. We're trying to get in a process so that we follow up with those work orders to get it smooth, the right contact. So if you call in for a work order, we're trying to make it so it's one contact person, just as simple as possible. And so that all those issues that come up will be taken care of. I went to the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government meeting back in March. Just wanted to give the board an update on some of the things they talked about. All their divisions gave a report, and one of the big things they're working on is task force for broadband. So that's big to help with the internet, high speed and all that. So that's pretty good. Anyway, good to see everybody tonight, and happy Easter.
Happy Easter. It's good to see this room packed, and it's been packed more often recently. It's good to see, and it's good to have Mr. Reverend Powell with us, Reverend Powell, and it's been wonderful to work with Chief Boraski and his wife. They are a wonderful pair. We are so glad you're safe, and we are so glad that you're working with us in this town, Chief. It's been great working with you. That's it.
The only thing I really got is town has several properties, lots and vacant lots or whatever that we own. And we don't need another property from what I'm hearing. And I would like for somebody like Commissioner Daniels to look at the possibility of either putting them up for sealed bid or list them through a realtor, whatever we have to do to unload them and probably put the money back into town. Maybe whether it's sidewalks, street lamps, I don't know. But it just holding on to them, maybe somebody else wants them and can do something with them, then we can get tax dollars off of them. Maybe it'll help out. So maybe that's something we could look at toward next month.
What are those properties?
I don't have a list of them myself.
There's a lot of them outside town, but
Yeah.
Really?
I was shop did that
Yes,
list.
I think he's got them right there. I ain't got the list yet, but, be nice to use it.
Yeah.
So,
How did you end up with them?
Some of them 50 years ago.
I don't know, it's before my time.
They're doing absolutely no good in our hands. It's better to put them in private sector hands.
You got a lot of sidewalks in this town to be fixed today.
Yeah.
Other stuff too, I mean, so, just to make downtown look better. Oh, and a matter of fact too, next week, I just wanna let y'all know, we're having our first, downtown strong meeting and, with the state. And so next week they'll be here. We've got a volunteer committee, set up and ready to go, and then we'll give y'all the feedback we get from our meeting, try to make Main Street look better and, get it presentable for the citizens.
Downtown Strong, you said the state, what part of the state? you mean?
Department of Commerce.
Okay, and that's where your grant money comes out of, right?
Well, it could, yes ma'am, but we didn't get any grant money from them yet.
Sir?
We didn't get any grant money from them yet, as far as the, that came from us, appropriation from Senator Warren.
But I know that the CDBGs and block grants come through them,
Yes
right?
ma'am, it could be, yes ma'am, and that's what we're looking into. We're trying to, the historic district stuff has been sent off, the paperwork has been sent off,
Right.
to the national parks, and, hopefully we'll hear something back from them maybe by this summer, and we'll find out where we'll have a potential, downtown historic district, and then maybe potential business owners or current business owners could use those tax grants, credits, incentives, whatever, to fix up this place.
Now, can I remind you of one thing? Now, when you speak of Bailey, it's not, is your concentration just gonna be downtown? Or is it gonna be all the streets that are listed on your list?
That's
It's
what we're doing
upkeep.
now. That's what we're doing now.
It's gonna be all the
Yes,
streets,
ma'am.
including
But
Stott
we can't do
Street?
them all at one time.
Understanding you
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
do them all at once.
Yes, ma'am.
But what I'm saying is, when I drive on Main Street is not gonna be on the A side, and then when you get on Stott Street, we're gonna be on the east side.
I mean, just as soon as we get the funding to do all these streets, we're gonna do them, hopefully.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
That's
I'm
what-
just
that's what I
saying,
plan on doing.
whatever you do for one, we
Yes.
need to make sure it floats up to Stott Street.
Yes, ma'am. And see, we had a outside company come in and do a survey of all the streets from worst to best, and that's how we're going. We've only
Yes,
got so
yes.
much funds.
Okay, I knew that about the
We'll-
trees.
Yes, ma'am, and every year we'll be able to do a few more, hopefully. And, whoever else is running the show next, in charge, they can keep on doing them, you know. Just every 5 to 10 years, they're supposed to be like paved anyway. It just hasn't happened for the longest time here. So,
Well, I participated in donations to help with the beautification, so.
yes, yeah, and
That's all I could do.
Yes, ma'am. So, thank you. And,
When does the downtown strong?
it's, the 23rd, it's, just 23rd, April 23rd, 7 p.m. It's, just, when I met with them, they told me they wanted 5 to 10 folks. I got some people on the planning board and, Chamber of Commerce, and try to get it going, and potential, a couple property owners here. Try to get things going, try to make it look better. That's what they wanna do. They wanna give us ideas and help develop a plan for Bailey, to make Bailey look better. And that's, something we're working on.
You mentioned, the heritage, sending off to parks.
Yes, that's what the privilege, yes.
So that's, how many properties were included in that? 30? Okay. And that's all downtown?
30 commercial properties.
Commercial.
I don't think they looked at anything residential either. And that's another opportunity too, so.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
a question
Yes,
before we go. About the trees being cut down.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a big, huge tree, and they didn't cut it down.
Which tree is that, what street?
We're on 6572 Pine Street.
Okay.
They cut down one on one corner.
Yes, ma'am, I saw that, that was right before the hurricane.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, we, last year, we had a list of trees, and same thing with the streets, and, which ones was in the worst shape, and how we cut them, and when that, Category 5 or whatever storm was coming, we speeded up the process on the first 2 and 3, and just soon as money comes in to get those, we'll go from there.
I sure hope so.
I do too.
Because last night when that wind was blowing.
Yes, ma'am. I don't want that to happen to anybody, that's why we got the first one done.
Yeah.
So, all right. right, this time, we need somebody to make a motion, so we go into closed session.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion
It
carries.
says dismiss.
A motion that we want to deal with the chamber due to, some facts, what the state is on the 501c.
Wait.
The board is discussing this in closed session that we want to deal with the chamber on, finding a way to recondition this building and bring it back up to a way that due to, people at the state saying that, it'll be, look better for us as far as using this money that's funded to us. That people have a 501c, for a nonprofit. And so we want to pursue dealing with the chamber and to come up with some terms and conditions by the next meeting. Is that right, what I see?
I second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Okay, I make a motion that we terminate the agreement with EnviroLink to handle the sewer AIA, grant effective immediately.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
I make a motion that we, use Mac Gay to take the AIA sewer grant, that we got.
Yeah, to fulfill the contract.
To fulfill the contract for the AIA sewer grant.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
And I make a motion to allow Chief Boraski to purchase the gun safe for $799 from Tractor Supply.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, I got one thing I got to read. A resolution by the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Bailey, whereas North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 159G has created asset inventory and assessment grants to assist eligible units of government with meeting their water infrastructure needs, and whereas the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality has offered a state reserve grant in the amount of $150,000 to perform asset inventory and assessment work, and whereas the town of Bailey intends to perform said project in accordance with agreed scope of work, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and the town of commissioners of the town of Bailey, the town of Bailey does hereby accept the state reserve grant offer of $150,000. That the town of Bailey does hereby give assurance to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality that any conditions or assurances contained in the award offer will be adhered to. That Kelly Glover, town clerk and successor so title, is hereby authorized and directed to furnish such information as the appropriate state agency may request in connection with such application or the project, to make assurances as contained above and to execute such other documents as may be required by the Division of Water Infrastructure. Adopted this 15th day, April 2019, at the town of Bailey, North Carolina. Anyone wants to make a motion to close?
I make a motion that we close this session.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
You want to sign this for in the morning?